Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Thursday the 12th of February. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. So let's start today with some of the big names. Let's start with Alphabet. After earnings here last week, it hasn't fared that well. It actually looked quite strong before earnings, but it couldn't hold on. And it is taking out now the support here at 319.50. Actually took it out on the 10th of February on Tuesday. Selling continued yesterday, 2% lower, and as we can see here, went below the 40 threshold on the daily. So now we are in a negative sentiment. We have been warned for quite some time with the falling RSI values, the relative strength index values, for quite some time. So now it has been reset, so to speak, but we're also in a negative sentiment, and there's risk lower to around 300, possibly 297 here on the shorter term. Then we have the 100 moving average coming up, giving a little bit of a support. We can also see here on the weekly that the RSI has been falling and the market moved higher, so we had a peak in place, and that doesn't look too good for Google or Alphabet, and that will of course also weigh on the Nasdaq 100 index. Amazon also talked about it a couple of weeks ago, about a week ago or something, and said it formed this triangle-like pattern, although it was not that perfect with all the white space here, but nevertheless, it broke below here on the 5th of February, trading around the 200 moving average, and then it sold off or gapped even lower below this support here around 211, and has pushed lower even then, and we're negative sentiment on the daily. We are also on weekly, but the week is not over and done yet, but we could see it pushing lower. The Amazon share could push to around 200, below maybe 200, and 197.85. That's the upper part of this gap area here. And that could be tested in the coming week or so, maybe. If it moves back above 212, well, then maybe we could have a rebound trying to close this gap there up towards 220. But these has of course weighed on the index lately. Other stocks of course lifted it, and semiconductors were okay yesterday, up about 2.7%. Let's just have a quick look at the sector. I plan to do a special semiconductor later, but we can see semiconductor industry. Here is the semiconductor ETF, very close to its all-time high, so it looks fairly strong across the board. But of course there are some differences, and it is no help from Nvidia. Actually, it's other semiconductors lifting the market. Nasdaq 100 can't really make up its mind what it wants to do, and and that is no surprise. I mean, basically we are in a negative or a bearish trend here, negative sentiment, trying to get back above the cloud. We actually closed back above there, but it wasn't convincing. We need to get back about 25,500. Then I think we can maybe establish a little bit of bullish trend, but then we have some overhead resistance there. Pre-market trying to crawl a little bit higher here on the future, but it needs to get back above the cloud and above 25,500. S&P 500 basically closed unchanged here after opening a little bit higher, but sold throughout the session. So unchanged there, really struggling a little bit also, but we are above the cloud, we are above moving average, we should push higher, and pre-market we can see it's trying to call a little bit back here above 7,000. We need to get back above 7,000. The Dow Jones on the other hand is still in a bullish trend, made all-time highs here a couple of days ago. Could set back a little bit. It is a little bit stressed, as we can see what's going on the pre-market. Let's have a look. Maybe trying to call higher, and it is thanks to companies like the oil companies and some of the pharma companies, whereas Eli Lilly hasn't really helped much after its earnings. That was the earnings that came out there, and then it has disappointed once again. So it seems quite heavy there too, or toppish at the moment. And if it takes out these lows here from about a week ago, well, then more selling pressure could hit it. The small caps also struggling for upside momentum. Sell-off yesterday in the small caps. In Asian session, we had Seng that got rejected a few days ago at the 61.8 retracement there at 27,383, setting back to the 38.2 retracement just below 27,000, testing that at the moment. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels, but it needs to take out that peak up there at 27,398. Nikkei seems a little bit stressed, although we are in a positive sentiment. There is divergence, but we got back above the falling trend line, which is a little bit of a positive sign. And could push higher here on the medium term, maybe a little bit of setback. Where you can see we are quite stretched there on Nikkei. European markets, a little bit, EuroStoxx50 here a little bit back yesterday, but still in a bullish trend with higher highs and higher lows and so on. The pre-market is pushing higher, so it is indicating higher levels pre-market. So quite strong EuroStoxx50 there. We can see how it's pushing higher there on the pre-market, and it's been lifted by some of the banks again, of course. So it quite strong moves. The DAX index still needs 25,020, needs to close above it. To really establish a bullish trend, and RSI needs to close back above 60 threshold to confirm that. Maybe it could do it today, testing once again the 25,020. Moving on to the FX market, we had a setback here the past few days in euro dollar after being rejected at 50% threshold. Needs to take out these spikes here from the past few days at 129.30. No, sorry, 119.30. If it takes out that, then I think we'll see a push up to 120. And I am actually quite bullish. Medium term, I think we will push higher towards 124. That comes back all the way from these levels here. I think we'll see that after this triangle breakout there. So cautiously bullish. But I need these levels to be taken out. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. Sterling dollar, or cable as we called it in the old days, spiked above the 50%, almost up to the 61.8. It really needs to take out this level there at 137.35. If it does that, then uptrend has resumed. And it is indicating with the positive sentiment, no divergence, that will do that, especially if we close back above 60 threshold, then we are likely to see that. Euro sterling is hovering around the 38.2 retracement, spiked up to the 50%, couldn't get really its mojo together. Still RSI rejected there at the 60 threshold, needs to close above for upside potential, otherwise it can slide back lower, and that is not unlikely. We'll do the ladder sliding back because 100 moving average coming down, 55 coming down. So but the bigger picture here is could actually be locked in because we have the 200 coming up, so we could be range bound here for quite some time around the 87 level. The yen pairs has really been on the move, especially the dollar yen selling off here the past 3-4 days after reaching almost the 786 retracement there, back down to the 152 level. It hasn't taken out that lows there, but it could do it. If it takes it out and we are in a negative sentiment, then we could see it down to around 150 and the 200 moving average here. So quite a significant sell-off there. And we can see 55 moving average turning around, and we're below the 100, below the cloud, so we could see it sliding lower. But I would expect a little bit of counter trend here the next few days, and if you are a very short-term trader, then you can do this and say maybe we will see a bit of counter trend up to 154.35, possibly up to 155.60. Euro yen, Also sell-off, hit by sell-off 2 days in a row, pausing a little bit, dip below the 181.55 here, but dip below to almost the 100 moving average. I think maybe also we could see a little bit of a bounce here the next few days, possibly up to the region around maybe 183, but we are below the 55 moving average, but the 100 come up here, so we could be boxed in here for maybe a little bit while before possibly next move lower. We have negative sentiment on the R side, that will be key. So is a risk down to around 180 level, 179.75 on the Euro Yen. Aussie Yen holding on, contrary to the other yens, but that's mainly due to the Aussie dollar. So still holding on in a bullish trend, but as you can see, stretched uptrend. Side declining, so we are also under pressure there. And if it takes out this, and let me just add a horizontal line to it there, we could see a dip down to test the low rising trend line, and some support here around 108. Sterling Yen also hit by selling, went straight through the minor support there, 209.60 down to the 138.2 projection of this move there at 207.5, bouncing a little bit. We could see it bounce up back up to around 210 maybe, but it is really now out on the bearish trend confirmed, also with the RSI below the 40 threshold. So now we can actually remove this one. I will keep this one just to see what's going on here, the falling trend line there, but we are in a bearish trend now. Let's see how far it can move. The Aussie dollar pushed higher yesterday, and I think we will see it higher in the coming days and weeks. Now we actually do have divergence building up. You can see the RSI really not agreeing with this. Maybe it's an exhaustive move short term, but it can still go on for quite some time. So I still think we will see it up to 71.70, possibly up to around 72 plus. Dollar Canada bounced after dipping below the 786 retracement, bounced a little bit, but we are in a bearish trend, and I think we will see it pushing lower in the coming weeks. If it takes out the lows from yesterday, well, then I expect a push down to around 134. We'll see all moving averages declining. We're below the cloud, negative sentiment indicating just the bearish trend to continue. Sterling Canada, not much to say, below the cloud, but still positive sentiment, so still holding on. But if it takes out the lows from yesterday, the 11th at 184.60, then expect further selling pressure. Swiss franc, that dipped lower here a couple days ago, but managed to close back above 91.20. Is in the cloud, but that's basically just neutral. We are still in a bearish trend, meaning stronger Swiss franc. So I think we'll see it sliding lower in the coming weeks towards 90.5, and especially if it takes out the lows there from 90 level, then I think we'll see it down here. The bigger picture also points to lower levels, as you will see here on the weekly. Still bearish trend, negative sentiment. Dollar Swiss, more or less the same picture really. Bounced strongly here yesterday after moving below the 786 retracement. So what I will do, I will add a new Fibonacci to it. So let's have a look here. There we are. There we go. Like that. So we already bounced 50% yesterday of that sell-off there, and almost up to the 61.8 retracement. Let's see if it starts sliding back again here and back below the 76.80, then we could see selling pressure resuming. And I still believe we will see dollar Swiss lower here in the coming weeks. Dollar index, more or less the same picture. Dipped almost down to the 61.8 retracement there, 96.32. It was quite close, only 55 pips from it, and then bounced, but the bearish trend still intact. Negative sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely lower levels. So a little bit of a bounce, and then I think we will see it pushing lower. And especially if it takes out the load from yesterday, then expect a push lower. Medium term, I believe we will see a lower dollar index. So we can see all moving averages there on daily declining, and 55 especially. Moving on to gold. That is not so much volatile the past few days, slowly crawling higher, testing a 5,091 key resistance, spiked above yesterday, but now sitting back again. And what we can do, if you're really keen on it and really do see how you can see here on the hourly, yes, it broke above but couldn't stay above. So maybe it caught a little bit of some buyers by surprise, and they got knocked that back down again. So it really needs to take out that spike up there. Then I think we'll see it pushing higher towards 53.40. The silver rejected there at the 786 retracement. At 83 and a bit. If it takes out that, then I think it'll also take out that 92.20 resistance and a push towards 100. But it will not be a sprint this time. But it can sometimes move really fast. But then we have the 21 coming. We haven't talked much about it. It will kind of put a little bit of lid on it here, short term. But medium term, we can see 55 moving average coming up, supporting underlying bullish trend. The platinum hovering around the 61.8 retracement of this sell-off there, spiked above almost to the 786. We are actually back above the cloud. We are above or just around the 55 moving average. So let's see if it takes out the peak from yesterday there at 21.95. Then I think we'll see a push up towards these peaks around 23.30, level 34. Copper tried to push high yesterday, but it needs to take out 611.55 here. If it does that, and especially a close above, then we are back in bullish trend. And if RSI also then close back above 60 threshold and even better above the falling trend line, that will also be a bullish sign. Crude oil slowly crawling higher, and I think we could see this 66.50 there being tested and also possibly broken. At least that's what the RSI is telling us. We are in a positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels on crude oil. Brent crude oil spiked higher yesterday above 70, but slided back, and still also positive sentiment, indicating likely higher levels on crude oil. European nat gas found some support here around the 100 moving average, bounced a little bit. Could bounce further, but I'm not quite so sure. If it takes out that level 31.27, then we could see lower levels. I'll remove this one. Then we could see lower levels below 30 euros, especially if RSI closes back below 40 threshold. But let's see, if you see the RSI closing above its falling trend line, then certainly we could see a push higher, and that will be accelerated if it takes out 36, spot 36, this spike up there. US nat gas seems to have found a floor here around 310, 315, and I think it will stay there, maybe bouncing a little bit. Moving on to yields, and US 10-year Treasury yield then moved back below the rising trend line, just above the cloud area. Still positive sentiment, but it is actually in a bearish trend, lower low, lower high, and lower low. Will it push back here? If it moves back above the 200 moving average and above 425, then I think uptrend could resume. 55 and 100 moving average is coming up there. So there's a little bit battle going on at the moment. So keep an eye on that. I remove this one and see. All right, let's see what's gonna be playing out here the next week or so. The European yields. We are there, sliding, continues to slide lower the past few days, and could test the lows here around the 277 support. Could test it here. If it takes it out well, then we will be back below in the 270 down here. But I think we will see a little bit of a bounce. What is also key towards is the RSI currently bouncing off the 40 threshold there. The UK 10 also lower there yesterday. Hasn't opened just yet, but it's about to open shortly. Taking back almost 50% of this uptrend there, and could slide back further, maybe down to the 443. Japanese are still basically range bound here. sideways range trading after a long stretch. So it will take a breather for quite a while, but it needs to take out either to the downside the 217 or to the upper side the 232. On the crypto market, still bearish trend on the Bitcoin, and we could still see the bounce up to 74.50, but it doesn't look too strong, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if it would take the 60, the key support at 60,000 once again. Ethereum, same picture, 1740 is the key support. All right, that's all for today. Keep chatting out there and have a nice day.